All right, everyone, I'm back to film part two, where we're going to be talking about transactions. Let's just go ahead and dive right in. All right, once we're logged into Total Brokerage, as we kind of already went over, this is what our dashboard looks like. So from here to actually start a transaction, I might be jumping ahead just a little bit because Kira is going to train on the CRM here in the next video. But to actually start a transaction, you do have to go through your contact. So for this situation, I'm going to go ahead and show you what it would look like to go ahead and add a contact and then start a transaction with them. This would be more so for a customer that maybe you just met them today for the first time and they were like, hey, let's write an offer right now. So you haven't necessarily been working with them the entire time. But for the most part, usually you would have these people already in your CRM, and all you have to do is go through the view contact panel to start it. But let's go ahead and add this contact in here. All right, her name is Miley Cyrus. And it's telling me, hey, this contact may be similar or identical to another contact. Please contact Mimi. So Mimi is the owner of a contact that has this exact same name. So that's a good thing because it makes sure that there's no overlap in the office, that there isn't going to be any issues with saying, hey, that was my customer. No, that was your customer, whatever it may be. You guys have the ability to kind of squash all those kind of issues in the beginning. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and add their email. I'm going to just go ahead and add my email in here now. So that way you guys can see what it looks like on the customer side. And then the agent aside, I'm going to just leave it as me. Okay, so that's all I really need at this point. If I were going ahead to set this up as a CRM, I would obviously enter all of the information. But for now, this is all I need to write an offer. So I will hit save on this. And then once it's saved, I can come up to this transaction panel right up here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to click to create a new transaction. So the very first thing that's going to pop up is this forms wizard. So what this wizard does is it's going to populate different forms that are needed. So instead of you guys having to remember, do I need this form? Do I not need this form? Whatever it may be, this is going to kind of ask the questions that drills down to what exactly it is that we need. So we're representing a buyer. Miley Cyrus is purchasing an investment property. It is a residential property, not a commercial property. Is this a referral from another agent? For this situation, no. But if it were, I would go ahead and add in that form. If it's an inside a red zone agent, we would add the inter-office referral form. If it was an outside agent, I would go ahead and add that FAR form in there. So that's where those are pulling from. But for now, I'm going to say no. What kind of association, HOA, condo, historic. This is more applicable if I have the listing because ideally the listing agent should already have this stuff on the MLS for me to go ahead and import in that's already completed. So I'm going to say none. What kind of lockbox? NA, representing buyer. Was the home built before 1978? We're going to go ahead and say no. And then what kind of financing? She's going with conventional financing. And then at the bottom, this is asking what kind of task list. So residential contract task list is my only option because I selected buyer. Okay, so I'll go ahead and create this transaction. And it does take a little second. It's just populating all those forms. Just be patient. It will pull up. Perfect. And right off the bat, I do see that my transaction is pulled in. It says transaction for Miley Cyrus. We will change that later and I'll show you kind of what prompts you to do that. Who we represent, she is a buyer. Is the status active, pending, closed, rented, or dead? For now, guys, I want you to leave everything inactive until you get clear to close. They are working on something that's going to change it a little bit. But right now, if I were to move this into pending, I would no longer be able to send signature requests. So they're going to be changing that here shortly. So I'll let you guys know. But for the time being, everything will be active, okay, until you get clear to close. And there's no more documents that need to go out for signature, okay? So this transaction is going to be active, and I will hit save. And I will move along to the next panel. So documents, we're actually going to come back to these documents here in a couple minutes. So what these documents do, it allows me to send everything out through Esignature through this panel, but we'll come back to those here in a minute, okay? People tab, I can add anybody else that is part of this transaction. So I would add my cooperating agent right here. If I was on a team, I would add my team lead. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm gonna say Kira is my team lead, and I'll hit save. So you can see that she shows up here. I am going to go ahead and add my cooperating agent. Let's just go ahead and say it's John Doe with John Doe Realty. Okay. And so here we have our vendors. So some of these are going to automatically populate, like our broker and me as the office admin. It just makes forms a little bit easier in the future. But go ahead and feel free to add your title company and your transaction coordinator. Something to note is in this system, transaction coordinators are treated like vendors instead of agents. So make sure that you populate them here underneath this vendor, okay? So down here is our contacts. If we had more than one buyer, I would go ahead and enter them here. And then as far as my seller information, I would also go ahead and enter them here. For now, since I'm just writing an offer, I'm gonna go ahead and skip adding in my sellers, but I can do that at a later point, okay? Moving along to the property tab. Here I have this MLS number where I can fetch the info. And how that works is I can pull up my MLS. Perfect. And then once I'm logged in, I would just go ahead and find that listing that I'm trying to populate. So for now, I'm going to just pull up my active listings and use a test one, but you guys would obviously find the real one. So I will go with this one, Silver Saddle by Kimberly Clay. That's a nice listing, Kim. Okay, so I'm going to copy this MLS number, and then I'm going to come back over to my total brokerage, paste that in here, and fetch the info. Perfect. So the only issue that we have here is this Saddlebrook neighborhood, for whatever reason, is pulling into the legal description. The engineers are working on fixing that, so hopefully that's not forever. But for now, you guys will have to go back to the listing and then go to the tax info and pull over that legal description and paste it in. I know it's one more step, but they are working on a fix, so just be patient while they take care of that. So I'll copy this legal info and bring it back over and replace that. And make sure we always save our work in here. I'm going to hit the save button in the bottom right corner and moving along to the financial tab. So here I'm going to enter whatever information I have. If I don't have it, no big deal. If I do have it, I will make sure that I enter it here. So buyer's agent commission, I know I'm getting 3% on this deal. Seller's agent commission, I don't know what it is, but if I did, I could just go ahead and add that 2%. Balance to close. I'm not going to enter this just yet. I'm going to show you how it kind of works with the contract, so it makes a little bit more sense for you. But for now, I'll leave that blank. HOA fee. I think I saw the HOA fee was $330 on the MLS listing, so I'll put that in there. Loan amount. Like I said, this kind of ties back into the contract, so we'll get with that later. So then referral fee. This is if I had to pay a referral going out. Second deposit. This is if they had a second binder deposit. Type of financing. For whatever reason, this field is pulling over a little funny, so I actually might move that one to another section, so you can ignore that for now. CDD fee, if there was a CDD fee, I'd put it in here. Hazard insurance, initial deposit. So this is our binder. Let's just say we're putting, I don't know, let's go $5,000 down. Okay. And then the sales price, let's say we're offering $500,000 and of course a $350 transaction fee as always. And then I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and hit this bottom right corner, save. So while we're on this menu, I'm going to go ahead and talk about these transaction expenses right here. So it's really important that you guys as 1099 contractors are keeping track of your expenses throughout the year, because obviously you guys can write them off. So let's say you're holding an open house and you need to get balloons for that open house. You would just come down here, you would add these open house balloons in, say you spent $25 on them, okay? And then my team lead, she bought the sandwich tray for this open house. So she spent $100. So we're both able to track our expenses separately, but it's good to make sure that we are tracking all of that stuff as we continue on. All right, so base commission and bonus commission, you guys can actually ignore that. It's just gonna be just like the financial tab in RBO, where you guys don't have to touch it. We'll take care of it whenever it closes. All right, so moving along to dates. These dates are super important, obviously, because we talked before about how all of our dates funnel in. So here, this is my first escrow deposit, which is just a fancy way to say binder deposit is due. So I will go ahead and pull this date in, and let's say it's due in 3 days. So I would hit save and I would enter this. So basically whatever dates I have available, I'm gonna go ahead and put them in here, okay? Email. So this is a really cool feature. Whenever you guys are emailing anything that's pertinent to this deal, make sure you're always CCing this email on here. The reason being is it's going to keep a log of all of your emails that come in, and you're not going to have to dig through your email to find something that you're looking for. It's going to be already in this transaction. It's just going to keep you nice and organized. Also, if you are sent over like a fully executed document or anything like that, it'll pull over and you'll be able to add that document into your documents tab here. So it just saves you a couple steps. You don't have to download it and then upload it. It's going to pull right over from your email. Okay, activity panel. This is a lot like the CRM that Kira's going to go over with you guys. But this is where you guys can kind of keep track of whatever's going on. So let's say maybe I need to update my customers on the inspection report. So I'll come over here and I'll say inspection report update. I just left a little note in here. Okay, and I'll hit save. And then just like in the CRM, I have the ability to add this to my calendar. So right up here, I'll add to calendar. It's for my transaction for Miley, but I'm going to just say 1234 Beach Boulevard inspection update. Okay, you guys can call it whatever you want. You can add as little notes, as many notes as you want, whatever it may be. But right under here, underneath this activity is what we're actually doing. That's the actual activity. So I'll add the date that I need to do this on, and then I'll set a reminder for 15 minutes before is perfect. Okay, so I'll come in here. I'll save this. Sorry, I'm freezing up a little bit. So that would then get added to my calendar. Okay, and then this last one is tasks. Just like anything, these tasks are super important for compliance, guys. And this is going to make it just a little bit harder to make sure that we're doing all of our tasks on time. And when I say harder, I mean for you guys. You guys really have to be on top of your stuff, on top of compliance. I can't stress how important compliance is. We can get in a lot of trouble if this stuff is not completed on time. So let's just kind of take a peek at these, and then we will come back and circle to them later. So update name of transaction to address. So this is where it prompts us on our general tab to actually change this name of the transaction to the address. Okay, and as always, we'll hit save. Let's go back to my task panel, and I can mark that as complete. All right, announce pending contract on social media. It's just a little friendly reminder. We always want to be on our social media. Okay, upload binder deposit receipt. So whenever that is, whenever I have that document, I will tag that here, but we'll come back to that in a little bit because I am going to go ahead and jump into our e-signature, and I'll show you how we use this, okay? So for now, all I really need to send out is my offer. That's really all I'm at right now. So I have a new bar purchase and sale agreement. So I'll click and open it. All right, and that document has loaded in, and at this point, I can see my fields and what I'm working with here. So at the very top is my buyer, so I will enter my buyer's information just by clicking in the field, placing my cursor, and saying my Miley Cyrus. Okay, and the seller's name is Billy Joel. Okay. And so anything that's in blue, it means that it should automatically be funneling in, but I can double check that just by clicking on it, and I can see which info is pulling over. If for whatever reason I don't want them to be connected, all I have to do is unassign that field, and I can type into it myself, okay? But for now, all of that looks good. So binder deposit is due within 3 days. So all I have to do is click in here. Sorry, my computer is moving a smidge slower than usual. Okay, and so now this is where all of those financial fields that I said we'll come back to kind of come into play. So I can see my initial deposit. I've already entered that as $5,000, so I'll close out of that. All right, my next one is my second deposit. We're not doing that, so I can just leave it blank, which is very nice. And then the next one is the loan amount. So how much are we actually doing for the loan? So we are doing $350 for that loan, okay? All right, so balance due at closing. This is obviously everything else minus the sales price minus all of this information. So since my sales price is $500,000, my balance to close is going to be $350 plus that $500,000 minus $355,000, which is roughly $145,000, I think. We'll see how I did on my math, but you guys get the idea. I'll just plug that information in. And whenever I plug that information in here, it's also going to save on that field as well. So I don't have to double enter things ever. Like it's just going to always be talking to each other, okay? So title company, if I did go ahead and add that vendor in, this is where it'll pull from. So I'm going to choose River City as my title company, and any of the information that I have for them will pull over this way. All right, so that did load in. The only thing I don't have in here is this address. So all I have to do is click on that address and plug it in. So this is for my title company. So you can see it makes it really easy that if you did, for whatever reason, not have the correct information in here, to go ahead and load in the correct stuff. So it's not like you have to go back and forth between menus, whatever it may be. So I'll go ahead and hit that save button, and then I'm gonna hit this little eyeball. And what this is going to do, it's going to show me the fields that are automatically polling, as well as the stuff that I entered, where we are missing information. So I can just make sure that I am as thorough as possible. And of course, be patient as always. So here I can see my buyers and sellers that I entered, all of that information that was fetched from the MLS. I can see all of that financial information entered here. I can see the Ripper City title here. I can see their address and their phone number and their fax number. So it does look like I'm missing that. So if I uncheck this little eyeball, I can come in here and actually add this phone number whenever this preview button goes down. So what I'm going to do is I'll come in here and I'll add their phone number, which is right here. I can copy that number and bring it over. So it makes it really, really easy to go through, fill out my fields, and make sure I'm always, always saving, okay? So I would do that for all of my pages. I'll move forward through it. For now, I'm not gonna take you guys how to actually through the entire contract, but you can kind of see where some of those other fields that I've entered are funneling in, like our transaction fee and all of that kind of fun stuff. But you guys would go through the whole contract and do it yourself. Once I am ready to go ahead and get a signature, all I have to do is I have to come back to this transaction right up here at the top, and I will go to Actions, Request Signatures. And so I do send those signatures one at a time. So if I have 2 buyers, I'll go through this process twice, okay? So for now, all I'm gonna do is choose my buyer 1. I'm gonna send this an email. You can send it by SMS, and then if they're live in person with you, you can have them sign it right here. Okay, but for now I'm gonna do an email. I can add any comments. You can say, call me as soon as you get this. Make sure you look out for this section, whatever it may be. You can add whatever comments you need to, and then require wet ink signature. I'll kind of touch on that later, but I'm not gonna do that right now. And so it's already pulling what documents is available for them to sign. So this is the only document that's available for buyer 1 to sign. So I'll go ahead and send this email. All right, once that email has been sent, I can see right here that the signatures were requested. If I needed to, I could go ahead and say that they signed this. Maybe they downloaded it and wet signed it and I need to upload it. So I can go ahead and say that they did sign this, or I can archive it. I can download this document. I can do whatever I need to do from here, okay? I am gonna go ahead and show you guys what it looks like on the buyer side, okay? For whenever they go to sign this document. Alrighty, so your customer's inbox will look a little something like this. Right at the top, I can see documents for e-sign. You've been sent 1 document for e-signing. Click here to view. So all you have to do is hit the big green button. This probably seems familiar. All right, and then they have the option to download this PDF right here and wet sign it if they are more comfortable with that, or they can go ahead and review and sign the document, okay, which obviously is a lot easier for us as agents, okay? So in the top right corner, they have the ability to sign all documents or initial all. They don't have an initial option. If they had any fields to fill out, there would be an option here that'll take them through all the optional fields, just like RBO does. Okay, so what I recommend you advise your customers to do is read through the whole thing. Read, read, read. And then whenever they are all done, all they have to do is come up and sign all. And this would be considered a wet signature that we kind of unchecked that box earlier, so they could wet sign it, or they could just simply choose a font, which is what we're definitely used to, okay? And so now it's prompting them. It says your document is signed and ready to save. You may complete signing now or go back and review your work. So more than likely they'll hit save because they've already read through the whole contract, and they will go ahead and get a prompt whenever this is done saving saying, thanks so much for signing. Here you can download your document. You're also going to get a notification saying, hey, your customer signed your document, okay? All right, so back on our agent side down here, I can see NEFAR purchase and sale agreement is currently partially signed. That's actually because it's missing my signature. So me as an agent, I also need to sign it. So I'll do the exact same thing I did earlier where I'll go up to Actions. I will request a signature. Choose the signer as transaction owner, that's me. Method, I'm gonna sign on this device. I'll choose this and sign on this device. Okay. So all this is gonna allow me to do is review and sign, and then this looks extremely familiar. You guys are used to this, so we'll go down and sign all documents. Or of course I can switch to type, which I will definitely do that. And then I'll save that document, okay? So whenever this is done saving and I head back to my transaction, I am going to see how that this document is fully signed and ready to send off to my to the cooperating agent. Okay. I could also download it at this point if I wanted to. All right, so at this point, I have signed it. My customers have signed it. It still says partially signed just because the seller fields were still there and the other cooperating agent fields were still there, and I never removed them. But that's okay. We know it's completely signed based off of everyone, so we can go ahead and download this document and send it off to my customers. So you can see I actually did stick this document in a folder. It's really easy to move to a folder. If you want to stay just a little bit more organized, you can call it whatever you want. You can do it listing, contract. Maybe this customer wrote multiple offers and you're kind of just filing through these things until you get it fully accepted. That's totally fine. You can just organize it however you want. However, the big deal is whenever we actually come over to this task panel. Oops. Is uploading the correct version of this document into the system. So upload fully executed contract docs, upload MLS pending sheet. We'll do that how we always do it, but to just show you really quickly, we'll go over to our document panel and we will upload PDF. You do have rights to this document. Okay, and I'm gonna choose a random document and pretend like that's my pending MLS sheet, but you guys get the idea. So once it has been uploaded, it will show up here. It does take just a second, so just be patient. If you want, you can go ahead and refresh your browser. Okay, and then there it is. I can rename this document, so we're gonna say this is pending MLS sheet. Okay, and then we will come over to our tasks, link that document there. And then at this point, the file can be sent in for review. So you can see that you're sending in the whole file instead of each document as an individual. What does this mean? This means that you guys can't do all of these tasks the day of closing. This means that you guys have to be on top of your compliance. We talked about this before. This is supposed to be done 3 business days between 3 business days within having a fully executed contract. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll request that review and it'll get sent over to me. It'll either pass or it'll fail. If it fails, it'll send you an email and it'll also leave a note here. So let's just go ahead and fail you and say missing seller signatures. Maybe you uploaded the wrong version. Okay, so I'll go ahead and put that here. You can see that this task was rejected. If I come in and I actually refresh this page, at this point, I will be able to re-upload whatever documents I need. So maybe I uploaded the wrong document here. I can come in and I can put the correct document and re-request that review. Okay, you can see that until this task is passed, you guys are unable to come in and do these closing checklists. Okay, and that's by design. We want to make sure that you guys are being timely with this kind of stuff, and so that means that you can't turn in everything all in one day. It's not possible. Okay. So this is also our total that's kind of just telling us how far in the transaction we've come, how many tasks have we completed, where are we at, okay? All right, so at this point, you guys kind of understand the basics of the transaction. It's just making sure that we're accomplishing all of those tasks in our compliance. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Kira, or any of your managers. They'd be happy to help. After your closing, just keep in mind, myself or one of the admins will close out all of your commissions and actually finalize this deal. So we will make sure that all of the numbers are correct in here so that way you guys are reporting correctly, okay? But that's really it. Like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Kira, or any of the managers. Thanks, guys.